everybody, and welcome to the Boxing Locker. I am Matt Goddard, and this video is why everybody hates Floyd. Now, let's talk about that, okay? He is not universally hated, and most boxing fans understand what a great fighter Floyd Mayweather was. The reason I've decided to make this video is because I saw a interview with Floyd. I can't remember whose channel it was on social media, where Floyd was basically complaining about how he doesn't get the admiration, respect, and reverence that he feels he deserves. And my argument with that would be this, and this is the primary focus of the video. My argument with that would be this. When you spent 70% or the largest portion of your career developing a personality and behaving in a manner in which you are trying to engineer and create as much hatred, animosity, aggravation, and dislike with yourself by being as inflammatory as possible. It is really hard for the 90% of boxing fans that are just fair weather fans, as opposed to the loyal fan base who absorb and watch boxing because they understand the skill set required. That 90% who tune in primarily to just the pay-per-view or the big fights, watch it and they think you are the person that you are portraying yourself as, and they don't care about your boxing ability because in reality, they don't really understand it anyway. They have no real interest in it. They just want to see a fight. So then for you to finish your career and hope that everybody will entirely change their perception of you because, you know, you're a good guy, you do some philanthropic work, you help charities, you're bringing up young fighters, you're encouraging young fighters to earn a lot more money, which perhaps that is true. Apologies about the background noise. I'm not sure what that was. You're encouraging young fighters to earn a lot more money and take their career in their own hands, which is great and great for boxing, great for those fighters. But 90% of people in the boxing world don't care about that, don't know about that, and aren't interested in that because they're only tuning in for the big fights. And what they really want to see is blood, guts, and glory, and very little else. So the reason Floyd doesn't get that is, I think, in part down to that. Two is in part his style. Unless you have a very, very analytical and broad boxing knowledge, it's very difficult to watch Floyd and see what he is doing and why he is doing it so well. Even if you've boxed yourself, it's really hard to see beyond the facts of, you know, what everyone considers as running, and to understand that what he's actually doing is controlling, manipulating, dominating, and psychologically defeating his opposition. Floyd had, I would argue, probably the best jab in the last 20 to 30 years. He's got one of the best jabs in boxing history. Maintained distance, control, timing, opposition's position, set up his punches, sold them on things like for feints, acted defensively, made it almost impossible to shut him down, especially when he started incorporating the body jab as well. He has exceptional reflexes and defensive acumen, wonderful footwork, never ran once in his life. I mean, his footwork was just beautiful. And something that he doesn't get anywhere near enough credit for is his grit and his chin. He's taken some massive punches his career, and this is a man who won all of his fights, irrelevant to those results. Now, a couple of those are contentious, yes, and we can go back and debate his whole career anytime you like. I'm not necessarily going to argue about those fights with you because I may well agree. However, the result is what's given by the judges, and that's that. There's nothing we can do about it. There's no sort of appeal system to reverse these things. So it is what it is. Now, there's a dog barking. I'm sorry about that. I don't know where that is. Hopefully you can't hear it too loud in the background. Anyhow, the reality of this is Floyd has boxed in a way that isn't necessarily fan-friendly. He created an attitude, a character in Money Mayweather that was the opposite of fan-friendly, that was fan-aggravating, that tried to engender as much hostility as possible towards him. He's complaining now about not being treated with the reverence he thinks he deserves, and that's all well and good, but it's very difficult for people to remember further back than those behaviors. You know, none of his performances were so attractive, so memorable, so devastating and explosive that people look back and they think, hey, remember when Floyd absolutely battered blah, blah, blah. Remember when Floyd took When he was pretty boy, yes. When he was money, no. And people don't really remember the pretty boy phase. You know, he's remembered as a boring, negative fighter. As I've said already, that's absolutely rubbish, but he's remembered in that way. If you look back at Floyd, pre-lightweight, he was just, probably one of the best super feathers and lightweights in history. You could pit him against any of the best there have ever been, and he would hold his own. Not necessarily win, but definitely hold his own. I would have him in the Pernell Whitakers, Roberto Duran level of skill there up at lightweight. So that's what it is anyway. The reality is he can't expect people to have suddenly shifted their view, and all they remember of him is the behaviour. You know, the wearing the Man United shirt when he was fighting Ricky Hatton, and Hatton being a Man City fan. You know, the burning money, the opulence, the obvious and deliberate antagonization of the crowd, and the I would say arrogance and conceitedness of his behaviour, which justified, yes. Necessary, no. However, you've got to admire what he did for the wealth creation, the interest and the attention that it drew to him. And look, he wouldn't be the wealthiest athlete in history. He wouldn't be the most highly paid boxer in history if it wasn't for all of these factors. So, you know, I think he has to understand that he made a decision to put people off of him. He made a decision to be unattractive to the population and to make a villain of himself. And he never reversed that. And he never acted in a way that would ever reverse that. So he has to understand that this is just the consequence of his actions, and that the key thing for him is that people who know boxing and who love boxing and who understand the skills in boxing, and who have the boxing acumen to understand what he did and why it was so good, they will always admire and respect him for his boxing abilities, even if, like me, they're not necessarily the biggest fans of his behavior outside of the ring. And I think perhaps that behavior outside of the ring has definitely, I said perhaps, and definitely, that doesn't really work. I would say has definitely affected negatively the following generations of boxers and giving them the impetus and momentum to think that it's okay for them to behave in that manner when they haven't achieved what he had achieved at that position and at that place in time. So there we have it, guys. That's my opinion on why everybody hates Floyd. Nobody really hates him. A lot of people dislike him. Doesn't have an enormous amount of fans. And I think it's his own fault. That's the reality of it. Do I think that's a bad thing? Probably not. Would he be where he is without it? No. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the rest of my content, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for watching.